Welcome back to the Your Everyday Strength podcast. My name is Josh Sternberg. And if you're just joining us here for the very, very first time, thank you very much for being here. However, if you are returning, then you already know the drill. You've heard me say this 1,000 times, but thank you very much for being here as well. Today's episode, as you can see, we do have a guest, and I'm just going to kick it straight on over to her. She can introduce herself, give us a bit of a rundown on who she is. And then, as always, with all the guests, we're just going to let it flow, see what comes of it. And I know for a fact that there's going to be a hell of a lot of value coming out of this podcast today. So welcome, Kate. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. Rip in.
Yeah, let's go. I always find it so funny, like having to introduce yourself is such an awkward thing to do. Like ask me any other question, I'm on fire, but intros are always awkward. But anyways, for those who don't know me, my name is Kate. I'm an online coach, personal trainer. I'm actually a nutritionist by trade, and I now do business coaching and mentoring. So I've been in like the health industry for nearly 10 or 12 years, if we count like my degree and the work that I did before I started becoming a PT and online coach. So that's a very quick synopsis of me. I would say my passions lie in coaching women. That's where I really, really thrive, whether it's women's health, women in business, that kind of vibe.
Fucking oath. I love that. That's the quickest synopsis ever. And I like that you've got it like nailed. For those of you who don't know as well, Kate is also the co-host of a podcast. So you can feel free to talk about that as well.
Oh yeah, I do.
Let people know.
I do have a podcast called Oi Let's Talk. Same kind of thing that we talk about. So anything related to fitness, health, mindset, business, that's kind of, where all of my passions are kind of lying.
Yeah. And that was honestly the biggest thing when I saw you put your story up and you were talking about, jumping on some more potties and getting out there and having some more conversations. I was like, I've heard your podcast. I've seen things online, like when you share the topics that you talk about and things like that. And I was like, fuck, there's a lot of correlation between this podcast and also yours. Slightly different lenses. I guess mine obviously comes from more of like the male side of things and the male perspective and point of view. And I've found that opening up the conversation for people, especially men, to actually see that it's normal to talk about not just training and nutrition, but mindset, relationships, emotional regulation, like all the rest of it is pretty fucking critical. So it's cool. And I was like, fuck, all right, let's see if you'll jump on. And here we are. So you've mentioned that you've been around the industry for about 10 or 12 years. And I know from following you like a little bit more about sort of your journey and your story and things like that. But for those who may not know or maybe seeing you for the very first time, do you want to give like a little bit of an extended overview of that journey through the process?
Yeah, for sure. So I've been in like the health industry for about 10 or 12 years. And that kind of started with being a clinical nutritionist. So my whole journey started, I went to uni, I got my nutrition qualification. I got really lucky that I essentially got a job in a clinic doing nutrition. And to be honest, the reason I say I got lucky is because anyone who's studying nutrition right now, listening to this podcast is probably like, I don't know if there's any jobs in the field because it is really hard to get into. So I got really lucky. I did that for about 12 months. And at that same time, I was falling in love with health and fitness and training in the gym just outside of nutrition. Now, my kind of journey with the gym or with my own fitness started where I was really underweight. So I'm nearly 6 foot tall. I'm like 5'11". I'm a tall girl and I weighed about 42 kilos. So I always came from a place of being like really, really underweight, not from any kind of disordered eating habits or anything like that, just from lack of knowledge. And obviously genetics plays a really big part in that. When I started learning about more about nutrition and getting into the gym, I just had this goal to get strong. I was always like the weak person. I grew up with a brother. I was like the weak little sister that was annoying. So I always just wanted to get into the gym and get strong. And then my passion for helping women get stronger, get into the gym, get over their gym anxiety kind of came into fruition with that. So I stayed in my nutrition job for 12 months. And then I realized that the office work 9 to 5 grind was just not made for me at all. And I decided to quit and start doing personal training on the gym floor. Now, I had no idea walking in on day one that I was even actually going to be owning a business. I know that sounds really naive. I literally was like, oh, I'm just going to train people and it's going to be fun. Got in on day one, had $300 worth of rent hanging over my head. I didn't have any clients, any experience coaching people, literally fresh out of my Cert 3 and 4. And then I decided to just give it a red hot crack, and I ended up getting fully booked within 3 months, and majority of my clients were all women. Then COVID happened and I lost 80% of my business overnight. So I went from being fully booked face-to-face coach, like fully employed, loving it, helping women from, my gym, etc., to then losing 80% of my business overnight and having to essentially build from scratch in the online space, which is just a totally different landscape. And then within that kind of year period, I ended up hiring 4 co-coaches, a full-time VA, and just scaled my business. And now that's how I kind of got into more like business coaching stuff.
Fucking hell, that's a journey.
That's
Yeah, I love that. No, honestly, like, I like that you say, when you started as a PT, you didn't necessarily think that it was going to be starting a business. But I don't know any PTs who, I mean, maybe less nowadays, but I know when I started as a PT and I walked in day one, I had no fucking idea I was running a business. I thought the same thing. I was like, I like training. I went and tried to do something else before that. I went and tried to do real estate. And I was like, no, I fucking hate this. I want to go do PT.
Yeah.
I had no idea it was a business. I didn't know you had to do tax. I didn't know how to market, how to sell. Besides having like a history with sales, I didn't know how to sell myself. I didn't understand how difficult the process would be at the start to just get people in the door. So for you to be able to go from like basically zero to fully booked out in 3 months, what do you think was like the biggest contributing factor to that? Because that's I wouldn't necessarily say that that's like a standard progression for a new PT coming into the industry for 3 months. Like, that's pretty fucking solid.
Yeah. Look, I worked in a gym that had 14 other PTs, including me. So 13 other, sorry, me being the 14. So I was in a gym that had a lot of personal trainers. Now, at the time, I remember being like, this can be really bad because there's so many PTs, meaning that we're all kind of looking for clients. Or it could be really good because the gym will be seen as a personal training gym. If you don't have a PT and you're on the gym floor, it's like, why don't you have a PT? Go and get one. But honestly, it's just, I am relentless. I think when you start, and that's just like naturally me as my baseline, but I think when you do anything in your life, whether it is training, trying to get the body, the business, whatever, you need to have a kind of I'm a dog with a bone kind of energy. You need to be relentless in the pursuit of the thing that you want to essentially build. And that's kind of just the way that my brain has always been wired. Like, I knew that once I started, I wanted this to be my full-time thing. I didn't understand the concept of running a business. I had exactly the same experience as you. No idea about tax. I was undercharging, overworking, like it was ridiculous. But I also knew that this is what I wanted my life to be like. And I just was hungry for it. Really, really hungry for it. I didn't want to go back to a 9 to 5. I didn't want to have my own boss. And I got almost a taste of the freedom that my life could be like. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go hard. And that's just how I had to be. Also, having said that, I truly, truly believe that doing anything that's hard is always going to highlight the things that you are either really good at or really shit at. And it's really important that if you are highlighted the things that you're really shit at, you actually don't avoid them. You work really hard to get better at them, which is what I see a lot of people not do. So for example, with business, right? It's like, oh, well, I don't know how to sell myself or sell on Instagram or sell in person. Instead of learning the skill, they just avoid doing it and then they don't have a business. Same thing in the gym. It's like, well, I don't know how to squat properly. It's too hard. I'll just avoid doing it. And then they never learn how to squat. Like tracking your calories and macros, same thing. It's too hard. They never do it. And then they never learn how to track it. So instead of avoiding that hard thing, I've always been that person that's like, cool, I'm really shit at this. This doesn't feel good, but I'm also willing to kind of just go balls to the wall, dive headfirst in the deep end and just try and do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that is a critical skill. And I don't know much about like your history growing up and things like that, but were you active? Did you play sport or anything like that growing up, or?
Anything my brother did. Like I said, I had an older brother. So I was literally like that loser little sister that just needed to keep up with her brother. So I played basketball for a little bit. I did netball, but I wasn't really like a big team sports kind of girl, no.
Yeah, okay. That's super interesting. I obviously like myself personally, I grew up AFL, basically any sport I could. Your typical undiagnosed ADHD kid who just was active all the fucking time, and everyone's like, no, he's just active. It's like, well, actually. But anyways, and I have absolutely seen like a very similar thing as I've progressed myself through the industry and seen PTs come and go. And I know that, you know, the average for a PT starting out in 6 months is like very high failure rate, like incredibly high. And I remember making it to 6 months and it was celebrated as if I'd just run a fucking marathon, like this huge thing. And I was like, 6 months shouldn't be celebrated. Like this should be the norm. Like it should be something that you just do. It's a standard thing. And then 12 months. And then like it just keeps going further and further. I've seen people come and go. I've seen trainers start online, quit online, go back to face, quit face. Like I'm sure you've seen everything possible as well. But having that relentless attitude and leaning into the shit that you suck at, for me, has definitely been a point of the biggest amount of growth, personally, professionally, whatever the case might be. I also find understanding like the delayed gratification is a big thing. And constantly trying to chase like the dopamine of anything realistically is a pretty surefire way to burn out very fucking quickly, lose interest, and then jog on with the next person. And you just become another statistic. As you've sort of progressed, and you mentioned that once COVID hit, you lost 80% of your business. Being in Melbourne, you guys were affected probably more than anyone else in the country. What was it for you? And I mean, we already have a bit of an idea with your attitude as a whole, but what was it for you that you were just like, sweet, all right, this is it, shift, go.
Yeah.
And then just fucking go bang with it.
Yeah. It actually took a lot. So I probably should preface this that I have always been that girl that's been crippled by the fear of failure and the fear of judgment. And I know that this is probably prevalent for so many people who are listening to this podcast, right? Like usually we want to do things, but the fear of judgment, the fear of people talking shit, the fear of failure is the thing that usually keeps us stuck. Now, when I lost 80% of my business literally overnight, like the gyms were announced that they were shut and like all of my clients were like pretty much peace out. A couple of them stayed online and we made that transition. But also this was in like 2020 where online coaching was not as big as what it is today. And I didn't have any systems or any structures in place. I had also just signed a lease to move out for the first time from my parents' home. So I had rent that I had to pay, I had a car loan, and I had just lost 80% of my business. And I also was like undercharging. So I wasn't really making any money at all when we think about it. And I remember having a full breakdown. I was like, I don't think I have it in me to build my business from scratch again. And I don't know what I'm doing online. I don't know how to market myself. I don't know how to sell. So I actually just invested. I spent all of my savings, $6,500. I had to borrow $500 from my mum. I had $20 left in my bank account, and I invested in a one-on-one business mentor. Someone in America who was, growing online and whatever. And I think I coached with her for maybe 3 years, and she taught me pretty much everything that I knew about the online space. And then I just was a student. I fully surrendered to the fact that I didn't know anything. Like, yes, I was a good coach. I knew how to get people insane results. I could build really great relationships with my clients. However, I had no idea how to market myself. I didn't know how to sell. I didn't know what to post on social media, nothing. And I just had to fully surrender to learning everything again, what felt like from scratch. And at that time, I remember, paying that money to her and going, I either will make this money back tenfold or like, this is the start of the end. Like I'm done. But I had to just risk that investment, and that investment paid off tenfold. Within 3 months after that point, I lost 80% of my business. Within 3 months, I hired 4 co-coaches and 1 full-time VA. So it's like it paid off, but I had to be able to take that risk and that investment first.
Yeah, there's two key things that I think out of that particular aspect. One, you mentioning that you pretty much always have to be a student and ready to learn. No matter how good of a coach you think you are, or you are, like you can back yourself as a coach 100% and be like, I'm fucking good at what I do. But it's one thing to know that, and then it's another thing to actually be able to get that out into the world, because otherwise nobody was going to buy from you if they don't know who the fuck you are or where you're coming from. And backing yourself so much that like you're going to invest everything you have. I know that like even myself personally, there's been heaps of times over the years where coming from more of like a lack or a scarcity mindset, it's like, fuck, that's a lot of money to invest. And then on the flip of that, I'm sitting there telling people, oh, you should invest in me. You
Yeah.
should pay me to help you to learn the things that you don't know how to do. And I'm sitting there going, oh, well, it's a little bit too much to pay someone. And I'm like, fuck. It wasn't until I had one person go, so what do you do for a job? And I was like, a PT, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, cool. So you get people to pay you to do a job. I'm like, yeah. So why the fuck do you not pay someone else to help teach you to do your job better? And I was like, good. And I found that since then, like I've been someone who from the very, very start, I've invested like probably at least 100 to 120K now in further education, courses, seminars, mentors, guides, books, fucking everything you could think of. I've done it all. University on top, because we all know uni loves a bit of a hex debt.
Yeah.
But all of it. And that has allowed me to become a better coach. It has allowed me to become a better person, and it's helped my business to grow to where it is now, and all the good things that come along with it. With the rise nowadays, because back then, like around that COVID time, business coaches weren't as big of a thing as they are now. I remember starting out, and like even training apps weren't that big of a thing.
Yeah.
I was one of the first coaches I knew, or PTs, I knew that had a training app. And I think I used my PT Hub to start because it was like the only one that I'd found. And I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. But no one else I knew was using any form of training app. So to find a business coach back then would have been like a fucking weird new sort of territory. Whereas it seems nowadays every second person online is a business coach. How has your sort of journey with like from that the person that you first learnt from through to now, watching the rise of business coaches and yourself, how have you sort of seen that come about, and what are your thoughts on like the new age business coaches?
I don't know. Maybe this episode will get me cancelled, guys. I'm scared. No. So originally I found this coach through somebody else. So somebody that I was following posted about the experience that they had had with this person, or this company, sorry, I should say. And I was so skeptical of it, like so skeptical. I ended up actually messaging her being like, is this a load of shit? Pretty much. And she was like, no, dude, like this was the best experience, blah, blah, blah. And then obviously I also had a really incredible experience. Now, the coach that I worked with was American. So obviously back in 2020 in Australia, like business coaches from what I saw was not really a thing. But in America, they've been huge for like probably the last 10 or 15 years. Americans are just different. They're like sharks. They want to win. They want to make lots of money. They want to create lots of impact, help lots of people, all of the things. So when I got into business coaching, not by a choice of my own, it kind of just happened to me. So I obviously grew my business. People started to catch on to that. And I had people just messaging me being like, hey, could I pay you to get coffee? Like, I just want to pick your brain. Like, how did you grow your business? And I was like, oh, I actually wasn't really interested in business coaching at all. Like, I love the business side of things. And now I would say that's more so my passion. But at the time I was like, I'm not really that interested. But then La Trobe University, which is a university in Melbourne, reached out to me to mentor their nutrition and dietetic students with career pathways after they finish their course or when they're close to finishing their degrees. And that was a lot of the women that were coming to me wanted to build businesses, their own consulting firms, etc. And then it just kind of happened naturally. So I was like, oh, you know what? I'll get into the business mentoring side of things. Now, what do I think about the business mentoring world in this day and age? I think if you are somebody who's wanting to invest in the growth of your business, I 100% believe that you need to invest if you want to become a better coach, build a better business, create more impact, all of the things, because you don't know what you don't know, right? However, I would be very mindful about doing my due diligence in who it is that I decide to hire. I see a lot of business coaches who have been, 12 months in business, teaching other people how to run a business. And in my opinion, you haven't even had the highs of the highs and the lows of the lows yet in 12 months. It really, really takes, I would say, at least 3 to 5 years to fully be able to see whether your business is sustainable, predictable, profitable, secure, all of the things that then equips you as the person to be able to teach somebody else how to grow their business. It's also an integrity conversation, right? Like, if you don't feel 100% confident and convicted and you know how to help somebody else do something, probably don't teach on it.
Good. That last part, I think, is the most crucial thing. And I know myself, like, I originally grew my business through further educating myself around it, what it is I do: training, nutrition, injury prevention, all of these different aspects that actually make a good coach. Because, and I'm sure you definitely see this nowadays, there's quite a lot of people who start out now and they go straight online. They've had no face-to-face experience. That might be a conversation for another time, because I think there's some good things to it, some negative aspects to it. They hire a business coach, they learn how to market, they learn how to sell online, they learn how to do this. But then when push comes to shove, they actually just suck as a coach. Whether that be lack of experience, whether that be lack of knowledge or skills, lack of results, and their churn rate is through the fucking roof. So they can get a whole bunch of people in, they look super successful, but then on the back end, you're just seeing people funnel out, funnel out, funnel out. So they have to keep turning up online day in and day out. Otherwise, they don't have a business that runs. With yourself, and you've probably worked with fucking hundreds of women now with business and through just training and things like that. Have you seen a correlation between the ones who do succeed having done education around what they're actually doing, more so than just the business aspect, and then the business is on top? Or what have you sort of seen from that side of things?
Yeah. My favorite quote, or one of my favorite sayings, is results don't lie, people do. And I instill this in every single client that I coach and that I train, is that you need to be the person that masters your craft first. If you get online and you talk a big game that you can help people go from X, Y, and Z to X, Y, and Z, but you do not have the proof to back up those claims, firstly, no one's going to believe you. They're not going to trust you. You need to have some kind of evidence that you can do what you claim you can do. But also, the way that you're going to be able to build sustainability in your business is by not having retention issues. And that comes to mastering your craft and actually being able to help people. I think also a very big thing that people probably get misled by is they think that becoming an online coach in whatever capacity, mindset, fitness, nutrition, business, whatever, people think that it's easy money. They think that you get in, you get lots of clients, you buy your Lamborghini, you move to Dubai, whatever the story is, right? But the reality is, it is hard, especially in this landscape, in this day and age with social media growing, etc. And I truly believe, if you're not passionate about what you do, you won't last more than 12 months. The people who do really well in business, really well in like a coaching business aspect, have mastered their craft, have integrity in their work, and equally are very passionate about what it is that they do. And 9 times out of 10, they have been in business for a while, not even realizing that they're even running a business. And then they're like, oh, okay, now I want to like buy a house and have a family, and I need to think more sustainable side of things, security side of things. But they've already got results previous to that because they are already good at what they do.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And fuck, the Dubai thing's so funny. I swear every second person nowadays is off to Dubai or some shit. And I'm like, or Bali.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I mean, it'd be fun, like for maybe 6 months or something, but I like Australia. It's quite fun here. With that, like, even on the conversation around, what are your thoughts on someone starting straight out as an online coach versus having that in-person, face-to-face, personal experience of actually personal training? Where are you at with that?
I feel like I sit in the middle with this because when I look at it from a business lens, I still think you can be successful in growing a successful business, not doing face to face coaching, right? But when I look at it from a longevity lens and an integrity lens, I would say the face to face element is huge. And it also kind of fast tracks your results without you seeing it immediately. And I know that sounds kind of dumb, but when you get into the gym and you get to see how people move, you also learn how to fucking communicate, which 9 times out of 10 people online do not have communication skills. You get to see, everything. You get to see the results in front of you. You become a better coach. Your skill acquisition is 10 times quicker. You learn how to pivot, adapt, hold conversations, help people through different things way quicker. Versus when you get online. Like, I hear stories about online coaches all the time selling their products and then taking 7 days to reply to a client. It's like, if that's your level of communication, it's piss poor, to be honest. You can't be taking someone's money, $150 a week, whatever you're charging, and it's taking you 7 days to reply to a message or a check-in.
Yep. Yep.
So yeah, I would say that I'm in the middle because I feel like you can still run a good business if you have that passion behind you, but you will not have those skills or that quick skill acquisition doing face-to-face as you would if you went into the gym.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I agree. I think my mindset has definitely changed on it. When I first transitioned to completely online, I was almost like team, if you've not done the hard yards in the gym, you're a fucking phony. Like, you're just trying to make a quick buck. And don't get me wrong, there are those type of people for sure. Like, there absolutely is. But I know for me that, like, I wouldn't be where I am. I wouldn't be the coach I am today without having exactly that skill of you deal, like when you're a PT, you deal with so many different people, different demographics, different socioeconomic backgrounds, mums, dads, young boys and girls, like whatever. There's so many different people that you have to learn to communicate with. And even at the start, 9 times out of 10 as a PT, you generally work with people that you may not get along with. And I think that is probably one of the most critical skills of being able to still help somebody that you don't necessarily get along with from a personal perspective, removing the emotion from it and understanding that this person is here they're paying you to help them get a result. Now, if they're willing to put in the work and actually want to achieve that result, I think that there's a lot of validity in helping them. I know a lot of people want to get in and like niche straight down, and they're just like, I'm only going to work with X, Y, Z, etc. Me, I worked with fucking anyone who would come up to me and say, I'll pay you the money. I was like, fuck it, let's go. I'm in. I'm ready. I'll be here at whatever time.
That's the best because you learn how to train people from every walk of life. I remember my first ever client I signed. He was a guy called Alan. I trained him 3 times a week and he didn't speak any English. He was an exchange student and he was my first client I ever signed. And we had to use Google Translate. I obviously was teaching him English because he needed to learn. He was living in Australia, but it was sometimes we would stand there in silence. It was like painfully awkward and I felt uncomfortable, but he was getting the best results and we just had to adapt. I had to be adaptable in that moment of like, okay, cool. He's coming to me with a weight loss result. That's what he wants to get. I can help him do that, but there's a language barrier. How are you going to do that online?
Yeah, 100%. I think having that ability to communicate with everyone from different walks of life, etc. I firmly believe, absolutely, once you've been in the industry for a long time, niche down. Work with the specific people you want to, as long as your business allows and facilitates it, as long as you can survive and, if you need to make the money that you need to make. But exactly that. Like, I've had a similar client. His name was Roy. That was his Australian name. And he was from China. His parents worked for the government and he refused to ever tell me anything about it. He was very much like government sort of style. And he just rolled around with wads of cash in his bum bag. And I had to be like, hey, dude, you walk to the gym. Now, I want you to be safe. As soon as people start seeing you just have wads upon wads of cash in your bum bag, it's probably not the safest thing. And it was just something that he had never registered. But through the journey, like, although we had such different cultures, thought processes, everything, he just loved the training. Like, he loved getting stronger and fitter and we ended up like, you just bond over that. And you may not necessarily, I'm not going to go and hang out with the dude outside of the gym, but it then allowed me to be able to communicate with such a wide variety of people, which I think is absolutely critical. I think a lot of people do miss out on that aspect of things. And understanding that like different clients have different communication styles and learning styles too. I think that that's a big thing that people miss out on is there might be coaches who are quite good at what they do, but they can only communicate in one form, one style. And they're like, oh, I'm really fucking good, but this person doesn't listen, and this person doesn't listen. They're not listening to what I have to say, without taking a back step and being like, okay, well, how can I communicate this a little bit differently so that they do understand? People, there are visual learners. People read better and understand, and some people can't read and they fucking hate it and they will not ever read anything you write. So they send voice notes or whatever the case might be. As a coach, first and foremost, and then obviously getting more into the business side of things, how often are you having to like teach maybe some of the girls that you work with about the differing communication styles and how to actually communicate effectively to get their message across?
Yeah. I think the first and foremost thing we need to remember is that coaching is a skill. It's not just something because you become a personal trainer or breathwork qualified, whatever coaching job you're in, that you know how to do. And I think a lot of the time, like even when we think to, if you're the person listening to this podcast and you want to hire a coach, it's like a lot of the time when we're hiring a fitness coach, we look at someone's body, right? And we're like, well, we want that physique. We're idolizing that physique and we're going to hire them based off the way that they look. But the reality is like I can coach myself easy because I can just say to myself, get the fuck up, get over it, move on with your life. You decided to do this, pick your hard, go harder. But I'm also well aware that not every one of my clients is going to be able to take that kind of feedback or the way I speak to myself the same way. So I think it's really important that being a coach, you need to understand that coaching somebody is actually a skill. And you're there to essentially showcase them an easier path, support them and guide them. And obviously provide and challenge them and provide to them or showcase to them what they actually can achieve. So a very big part of the work that I do, and when I think about the work that I do, I really like to play in the middle ground of like people know what they need to do, but they still can't do it. What's the gap in between that, right? The gap in between that is usually like your patterns, your habits, your behaviors, the things that are stopping you from getting the result that you want. But when I think to coaches who come to me and they work in like a business capacity or a business aspect, a lot of that time it's like, you would be very surprised that a lot of coaches lack basic level of communication. They can't reply to DMs on time. How many people inquire with me and then never reply to me and they are a coach themselves? And I think you're coming in my DMs asking me to help you grow your business, but you can't even reply to me. How are you growing your business? Like, how often are you replying to your clients? It's always going to be that reflection. But yeah, communication is huge. I think if you are somebody who struggles with communicating, it's probably going to be the number one thing on your list, especially if you're in a service-based business.
What are your biggest tips on actually helping someone learn to communicate better? If they're an online only, they come to you and that is their biggest roadblock, what would you suggest is their biggest like bang for buck way to get better at it?
You need to listen, not listen to speak. That's first and foremost. So many coaches listen just so they can then have their input and say what they want to say and then move on. When it comes to a coach-client relationship, you need to be able to sit down and actually listen and understand the words that are coming out of that client's mouth. You need to be able to also start thinking a little bit outside the box and dissecting the words that they're saying. If somebody comes to me and they say, hey, I want to lose 10 kilos, my first question is not like, yeah, cool, we can lose 10 kilos, we can do X, Y, and Z. My first question is, why do you want to lose 10 kilos? Why is that so important to you? Because I need to know a little bit deeper, one, about the person, but also why it's actually important to them. The second thing I would say when it comes to communication is also just asking, and I know this sounds really basic, is like asking the person that you're coaching, what kind of communication style they prefer. So inside my initial goal questionnaire, when someone signs up for online coaching with me, it literally says at the bottom, what kind of communication style do you prefer? Soft and gentle, tough love, or a little bit of both? Because naturally, as you guys can probably hear listening to me now, I'm very savage. I'm very direct. I'm very honest. I say it how it is and I don't have a filter. That's just the way I've been my whole life. But I'm also very attuned to the fact that not everybody is going to, be coachable in that way. So I need to know from the person that I'm coaching, where do you sit? Do you want the tough love? I'm assuming you've come to me because you know that I'm that way. But also, I'm happy to meet you in the middle and give you a little bit of soft and gentle approach if you need it to. So listen, not to speak, and also simply ask the question of how that person prefers to communicate.
I love that. And on that, how many times do you think, and I know myself personally, this is something that I've struggled with over the time, is finding that really good balance between being direct and almost strict to keep the client accountable, with then also still offering like the tough love, the gentler approach, struggling with the fear of, if I am stricter on this client, they're going to leave.
Yeah.
They're not going to want to hear that. And this is something, especially over the last 6 months, I've been working on quite a lot for myself personally. And then as I've started to implement it, I've realized that it was to my own detriment that I was unfortunately allowing clients to get away with things they shouldn't have been getting away with. And then as soon as I've pulled them up on that, they have left. But that's because I've now had to try and change, because I'm like, at the end of the day, I'm here to help you. I'm here to help you get a result. I'm here to provide a service that you are paying for. If you are not willing to come to the party and work on that, then so be it. That's fine. That's your personal choice at the end of the day. How would you teach someone, or one of your girls that comes to you that's like maybe a little bit more timid or a little bit more reserved and is a little bit more scared to actually be like blunt when they need to be, or like stern when they need to be?
I think I'm going to answer this in a really shit way, because I feel like for me, that's always come naturally. Like I would say that I'm the person that's pretty good at like reading the room, and I can kind of pick up on like what kind of person I have in front of me. But if I was like teaching that skill to somebody else, I think the main thing we need to remember is exactly what you just said. It's like, we are coaches. I'm not here to mother you. I'm not here to hold your hand. I'm here to challenge you and show you what's possible. And the fact that you've come to me in the first place, and this goes for anything, building the business, body, relationship, whatever it is, the fact that you've come to me in the first place, you have a problem that you can't seem to solve on your own. You want to get a result that you can't seem to get on your own. That's why you've decided to hire me. And I'm not going to be that person, unfortunately, that is going to say, or what I like to call them, the woo girls, who are like, oh my God, yes, queen, go girl. Don't get me wrong. I will give you the hype if you need it, but I'm also going to call you out on your patterns, your habits, and your behaviors that have kept you stuck for the last 10 years. And that's why you haven't seen the result. When I think about my business clients, they'll come to me and be like, I really want to grow online, for example, except they're inconsistent. They are way too emotional inside of their business. And instead of me just saying, no, no worries, babe, I think you should take a week off social media, I'll say, no, I think that you need to challenge yourself to post every single day this week in the moments where you feel like you don't want to fucking do it. Because the reality is, business, growing, your glutes, going to the gym, getting stronger, whatever the thing is, you're going to have to do that in the really hard seasons of your life, like the really hard seasons of your life, if that goal is important to you. So yeah, I think I would say I'm just good at reading the room, but if I was teaching that, I would say that you need to remember that you're if you want to be that coach, you're not the coach that holds people's hands. You're actually paid to challenge people, and I almost see it as like a disservice to the client. If I have a client coming to me and they're stuck in this pattern that they keep self-sabotaging, inconsistent, whatever, and I'm just like, no worries, take a rest. It's like I'm actually keeping them stuck in their problem, which is great for my bank account, right? Because if I keep someone stuck in their problem, they never learn. They never be able to do it on their own. And a very big philosophy of my business and my coaching is, I don't want you to need me forever. Like, fuck yeah, I'd love to have all my clients forever. I love them all. But also, like, I don't want you to pay me forever, because I want to instill the skills in you to go out and do the thing on your own so you don't need me forever.
Fucking oath. Yes. Yes. That building that self-belief, building that self-confidence. And only comes as a byproduct of, you know, doing the hard shit when you don't want to, turning up when you don't necessarily feel like it, having those tougher conversations. And I think that in itself is like a fucking perfect example of people just getting lost in the fact that like, oh, somebody comes to them, they're going to help them. And it's like, well, yeah, I need the money. So like, I'm just going to keep them here forever. And they're going to be relying on me forever. And they need to come and ask me if they're allowed to have a meal out because they don't even know what a macro is. And it's like, that's great. And I agree. I've always had the same mindset that like, I don't want my clients to stay with me forever. I have clients who have been with me for fucking years because they choose to be, and we make good progress. And anything we ever want to work on or shift towards, they achieve the result, they keep going. That's why they hang around. But then when I have clients come to me and they're like, hey man, I actually think like I'm confident enough to now do this myself, or at least for this next season. I'm like, dude, that's fucking awesome. That is fantastic. I've done my job as a coach. If you now feel confident enough within yourself to actually be able to go out and do that for yourself, I'm stoked. I'm sad. I love working with you, but
Yeah.
I'm stoked that that's like what's achieved. And like, again, I know I've been caught up in it myself with some clients, and I've absolutely, it is 100% me being like almost being disserviceful to my client by allowing them and almost enabling their bad habits that have kept them there because you're too worried about like coming down a little bit harder on that person.
Yeah.
So I get it as a young coach.
Oh, for sure. And like I always say this, and this is going to come across bad to everyone that's listening, but hear me out, okay? Hear me out. I always say this, like I would be making 10 times the amount of money that I make at the moment if I sold people meal plans all the time without teaching them how to actually get educated around nutrition. You know, viral hook templates, the Canva templates, giving you content scripts so you have to rely on me forever, because that stuff sells really, really well. If you, when we think about like the consumer, we want everything at our fingertips, quick, easy, shiny object, give it to me now, get me the result within 2 days. I could sell all this shit to you and we all could, and make so much more money, but I just refuse to do it. Like I don't know what part of me, I just like feel so rebellious to do that, because I'm like, I cannot keep people stuck in their problem when we do have an issue with this, right? Like we are living in the 21st century. We have so much access to anything. Like if you want to build a business, you can listen to 800 podcasts. You can read 7,000 books, whatever, do all the work. If you want to get the body of your dreams, you can go on ChatGTP. But the issue is we still are not achieving the results that we want. The gap in the middle is actually skill acquisition, education, empowerment, and being a coach. I feel like it's like my life's work to not fall victim to just selling people the shiny shit, and actually doing the opposite of that, where it is harder, it is more gritty, it's uncomfortable, it's probably going to take longer, because that's the reality. Things take a lot of time, a lot more time than you probably expect. But I just can't sell that stuff because it just annoys me.
I agree. I 100% agree. And I've had this conversation with a few people in the past and been like, I could absolutely go and just make everything as general as possible, have templated everything, and just have fucking hundreds of clients coming through the door, making 10 times the money I'm making right now. But for me, that's not fulfilling. And when I have worked with clients like that in the past, and this is probably on a deeper level, more of a subconscious thing, people will experience it or they won't, depending upon their values, morals, etc. But I've eventually come unstuck with those people because I'm like, I feel uncomfortable in myself by working with them. And I'm like, and then it becomes almost, you never hate to say that like, oh, you don't like working with that person, but there is some people who that is the case. And too often people can look at it from the business sense and they're like, my bank account's fucking growing through the roof. This is sick. Buying the new fancy shit, or I'm moving to Dubai, or whatever the case might be. And they lack a little bit of that like integrity, the morals, the values of like what it actually means to be a coach and what your role is. Is it to make money? it's a job. You need to pay bills. You want to buy a house, set up your family, all of it. Absolutely. But I think if that comes at the cost of basically taking money from people for nothing, then you probably need to reflect as a person more so than just a coach.
Yeah. And also you won't last. Like the people like that, it's like, yeah, you'll make a little bit of money for maybe 2 years and then you'll be on to the next shiny object or the next thing. And then it's never going to have longevity. I always just think like, I have always been the person that I'm always willing to do the hard work. And even though, if you watch my stuff on social media, you probably think that I'm like this savage hard ass, right? Which like I am to an extent, but I also know that that's the work that works. Like if you want to build a business, for example, that is sustainable for the next 10 years, you have to do the work that I speak about. There's no escaping it. If you want a business that gives you really quick cash injections for a short period of time, you can do all the other shit that I don't talk about, right? Same thing with building a body or getting stronger or growing your glutes, whatever the thing is, losing weight. It's like you're going to have to do the hard stuff, the stuff that really matters, versus just follow the 8-week challenge or the meal plan that never gives you any kind of education or empowerment. Because like long term, when I think about, weight loss, for example, you want to be able to maintain it. You want to be able to have that for the rest of your life. So you stop going from losing 10 kilos, putting 10 kilos back on, losing it again, hating the way you look in the mirror, insert all of the things, and never feeling fully confident in your own skin. But that doesn't come from just like a quick meal plan and then you not learning any education around it. It comes from doing the hard work that is hard and that sucks. And also fixing your relationship to boredom. I speak about this quite a lot on my podcast, but we have obviously living in the 21st century, dopamine at our fingertips all the time, right? We want it now. We want it quickly. If it's not happening within 2 to 8 weeks, I'm done. I can't be bothered because we get bored. If you're the person that gets bored, you need to understand this so deeply that training, you're going to do the same movement patterns probably for the rest of your life. Business, you're probably going to be doing the same stuff on your social media for probably the rest of your life until you decide to close your business. If you are that person that gets bored and chops, changes, starts, goes to another coach, picks the next shiny object, that is why you haven't got the results.
Yeah, that was honestly one of the biggest things for me when seeing your content and like relating to that sort of thing, and like what drew me towards your content as a whole was like the authenticity. You can tell that how you show up online is how you show up across the board, and not just from what you say, because as you said, right, anybody can jump online nowadays. You pull out a camera, you film yourself, you can say whatever the fuck ChatGPT script says, and you might sound believable. But when push comes to shove, you crumble. And I see it all the fucking time. Whereas like with yourself, I know that it's like your biggest message is like showing up authentically, but then also doing the fucking shit that matters and doing the hard stuff and being bored. And that to me was like, okay, cool. This isn't somebody who's just trying to funnel a bunch of people into their business coaching service. This is somebody who's like, trying to attract the right person who, when they do come to you, they understand what they're going to be getting into. I'm sure nowadays for yourself, you have less people coming to you who are the other end of the spectrum, and more the people who do identify, okay, fuck, I need to fix something. I want something sustainable. Like your messaging is just consistent as fuck. Obviously you've said multiple times now that that's like just who you are, that's how you've always been, etc. How do you find when people do come to you, like, and they look at it all and they're like, fuck, okay, this is actually just consistency, just be the same no matter what that might be. How do you find sort of like bridging that gap for them if they're a little bit lost on the consistency aspect?
I think it comes down to like what your why is. I think when people have a big enough why, I believe that's when they can start actually being consistent, but only if they actually understand what their why is. And a lot of people, when they decide to goal set or want to achieve something, they just set a goal, but they don't know like actually why it's so important to them, or they overlook the reason as why it's so important to them, right? So like even for me, like when I went on my like weight gain journey, like I said at the start of this pod, I weighed at like 40, 42 kilos, and then I put on like 25 kilos in like 5 or 6 years. My
Fuck.
why, yeah, took a long time. Anyways, my why behind that was like, I don't want to be weak. Like, I don't like the feeling of being weak. I don't like the feeling of being really skinny. And like, that's really important to me. I don't like the way that I look because I look really skinny, and it's not for me, it's not my thing. So having that why is really important. So not just focusing on the goal, but like why that goal is so important to you, and then re-anchoring yourself back into that all of the time. Because when we get fixated on achieving a goal, we forget our why. Even like growing a business, for example, it's like, okay, cool, we want to grow a business and we want to make a money goal every week. We want to make $1,000 a week. It's like we fixate on that money goal, but we forget why we started in the first place: to help people, to change people's lives, to have more impact, to spread our message, to do whatever it is that is our passion and our purpose. But we're so fixated on making $1,000 a week, and we're not even looking at our why. It's like re-anchoring to that. It's always, I call it like your like lighthouse. You know how you have like a lighthouse that kind of shows the way? That's what your why is.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And I think that it is something that's missed. Like a lot of people do focus on maybe more or less the outcome and not the reason for that outcome. Even from like, if you're looking at it from a financial perspective, from business, making an X amount of money, it's like why are you wanting to make that money? Like, why do you want to look that way? Why do you want to drop the weight? You've said yourself that you didn't like the thought of being skinny or small or weak. Other people might want to be smaller, but it's like, why? Something that's like toyed in my mind, and we spoke about it a little bit at the start, was like, people will look towards a coach for how they look, especially from training nutrition side of things. They'll look at a coach for how they look. And as much as people hate to fucking admit it, or hate whatever the case might be, if you're a dude, the jack dude with abs and a fucking tan who's hanging out at the beach, they're probably the coach you're going to go to over the coach who, you know, might be a little bit softer or whatever the case might be, but might know fucking way more, may be able to help you way more. You're going to be drawn more to the person that looks a certain way. And it comes down to that relatability, for one. Like, you might want to look that way, and it could be an aesthetic perspective. It could be fucking egotistical. Like, you might have an ego approach, or it's like, what does that represent to you? Well, you've said yourself that by putting on the weight, you want to feel stronger. And you're somebody who, from a personality perspective, is obviously quite strong. So having a body that reflects that is fucking important. If somebody wants to build unshakable self-belief and self-confidence, but they're 30 kilos overweight and they can't look at themselves in the mirror, and then they're online being like, well, you can have confidence at any weight. Whilst I don't necessarily disagree with that, and I don't necessarily think you should always focus, especially as a guy or even a girl, on having abs and all the rest of it, I do absolutely believe that they do go hand in hand to a degree. And how you show up externally has a byproduct on how you show up and how you are internally.
I agree. I think as well, like, yeah, this conversation is so interesting because for me, when I think of confidence, confidence is not something you're born with, right? You don't come out of the womb being like, I'm such a confident person. Confidence happens when you consistently follow through on your word, whatever
Yes.
that looks like. So if you want to build the business, right? And you say, I want to have 100 clients and I want to be helping X amount of women, you need to then do what is required of you every single day, whether you feel like it or whether you're not, to build the confidence to then back yourself and have the self-trust to actually be able to achieve or have that business. Same thing when it comes to, you want to lose 30 kilos and you feel like you've tried everything, I'm saying in quotations, and nothing's worked. It's like, well, are you that person that wants to be more confident, but every single time you say, I'm going to go to the gym, you snooze your alarm? You come up with an excuse. You're too tired. It's too hard. Counting calories and macros is not for you. The gym's not for you. You're going to do Pilates and Pilates not for you. Like, all of these excuses erodes your self-confidence and essentially makes you not trust your own word. And you obviously consume my content, you would see, but I speak a lot about being more disciplined. And this is not from the lens of like this military 100 push-ups every morning, can't eat off track, can't not post on, Instagram for one day, whatever the thing is. But it's more so about proving to yourself that you can do the hard thing. Because when you do that, whether it's not snoozing your alarm, whether it's posting consistently, you become more confident. And the more confident you are, the easier it is for you to then achieve the result that you want to achieve, because you've put all of these things in place, the roadblocks to get you where you need to go. But the confidence conversation is so interesting because everyone thinks that like, oh, you're naturally just confident. You're like born with confidence. It's like, no, it's because I stay true to my word. If I want something, I put a plan in place and I do everything meticulously until I achieve it. And then I can look back and be like, well, I am confident because I just proved to myself that I can do this hard thing.
Yes. It's funny as fuck that you mention it, because I've been in my head all morning. I've been working out, writing a post on discipline, because I don't even think I know. I've seen it at the moment, especially online. There's this weird dichotomy of people who are all for hustle culture and people who detest hustle culture, to the point where they're like, well, I'm going to not do anything hard because my body needs to rest. And it's like, cool, have no confidence, have no self-belief in yourself, have no ability to do anything hard for the rest of your life and continue to stay stuck. Or have the discipline. And as you said, discipline isn't the military fucking, you have to do this. You could be on your deathbed and you still have to post on Instagram. It's like, no, do the fucking hard thing. Understand that yes, there will be times where you might need to rest or go a little bit slower. That's so fucking fine. You can't be on 100% all of the time. But it's not utilizing that as an excuse to then never, ever show up. And show up for yourself. It's any wonder you don't want to do hard shit and you've ended up in the basket that you're in. If you're coming to either of us as a coach, whether that be for training, nutrition, business, whatever the case might be, you probably need it. Like, you need the help.
I think the discipline and like, it's like the discipline self-love. Like, they're like the two opposing sides, where it's like, if you're hustler culture, you're going to burn yourself out. It's like, yeah, you'll burn yourself out if you don't have any boundaries and you're disorganized. Yes. Plain and simple.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'll be fine. Or it's the self-love of like, no, I'm just going to slow down and listen to my body and do what's required of me. And I'm in my slow, soft girl era. But the reality is, if you're in your slow, soft girl era, but there's still things you want to work on, whether it's your fitness, your business, your mindset, whatever, that indicates to me that you should not be in your soft girl era and you need to have a little bit more discipline. Something I say all of the time, and I say this on my podcast too, is like, you need to try hard. Like, in your life, like, not being morbid, but like, we're all going to die. You have one life on this earth, and you're telling me that you would rather just sit back and go, I'll just let life float on by and I won't achieve anything that I want to achieve because the self-love movement told me I shouldn't do it, and whatever the thing is. It's like, you have one shot on this earth, try harder.
Yeah.
Like, I am never afraid to be a try-hard. You know how people are like, oh, she's a try-hard. She's on Instagram. She's so cringe, whatever. I don't care. Call me a try-hard. Say I'm cringe. Send my fucking shit to your friends. It's good for my engagement. Don't care. Because I want to try hard. Because I only have one time on this earth. Why would I not be wanting to try hard for the things that I want to achieve?
Yeah. And generally, you'll find the people who do end up criticizing that, and this is something I've spoken about on this podcast and just in general, it's 9 times out of 10, it's a reflection of how they feel internally about themselves.
It's a mirror, always.
100%. Yeah. And even like myself over the years, and this is coming from, A, my frontal lobe developing, but B, also doing a fuck ton of work on personal, emotional, like all of the me, who I am as self, to then allow myself to show up better for my clients, for my family, friends, etc. I found the times where I'm most critical of others is the times where I've had the most problems with myself.
For sure.
And it is that, like I said, it's that dichotomy between like, I'm going to honor myself and just not show up. But why is my business not growing? Or why am I not progressing? Or why is this? Or why is that? I know myself personally, when I have The times I've burnt out is when I have been fucking around and doing the shit I shouldn't be doing. Or even worse, it's the times where I've been honoring myself and I'm like taking a back seat. And then all of a sudden I get really fucking annoyed at myself because I'm like, oh, why am I not achieving anything? Why is this? Why is that? The times where I feel fucking motivated, and all of it is where I'm disciplined. I'm sticking to a structure. I've got a schedule in place. I'm following up on what I say I'm going to be doing. I stay true to my word. If I say I'm going to do something, I do it. And all of a sudden, you're motivated as fuck.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that motivation has come as a byproduct of you maybe showing up when you didn't necessarily want to. It's putting out the content when you haven't wanted to put out the content. It's going to the gym when you're a little bit tired, or foregoing eating out with a friend, like friends every single night of the week. Catch up with your friends once, have a bit of a social, enjoy the time for what it is, stick to the plan for the rest of it.
It's about having radical self-honesty.
Yes. Yeah.
I think that's something that a lot of people lack. And don't get me wrong, it's hard to do. Like if you are the person that wants to achieve a result that maybe you've done or tried to achieve over and over and over again, you still can't get there. You probably need to zoom out for a little bit and actually get radically honest with yourself. What are you currently doing that is stopping you from getting where you want to be? It's like even coming up, I don't know when this episode is going to be published, but we're coming up to the end of the year, right? End of 2025. So everyone around this time will set their New Year's resolutions. I refuse to set New Year's resolutions because I just think they're a waste of time. Instead of New Year's resolutions, I create a no list. So I'll set my goals. Let's just say my goal is to lose 10 kilos. From that goal, I will then write down all of the patterns, habits, and behaviors that I currently do that is stopping me from getting there that I will no longer be doing. So let's just say the goal is 10 kilos. I want to lose 10 kilos. I know that I overeat. I don't track my calories and macros, and I snooze my alarm and I skip my gym sessions. Cool. The things I'm no longer doing in 2026 is snoozing my alarm, overeating, not tracking my calories and macros. And it allows you to actually look at the things that are stopping you from achieving your goal and having that radical self-honesty of going, well, if I'm not where I want to be, something I'm doing is not working. And I either need to try something differently, or I need to actually sit down with myself and go, why am I sabotaging this? What are the things that I'm actually doing that's stopping me from getting where I want to be? You know, I see it all the time. Clients will come to me and they'll have a weight loss goal. They want to lose 10 kilos, for example, but then they won't track their calories and macros. Or they'll track 2 days and then go, oh, I just ate all of the same things, so I didn't bother tracking the rest of it. It's like, okay, but did you actually eat all the same things, or did you have more? Because you weren't weighing it, you weren't tracking it, we don't know. It's actually getting honest with yourself of like, well, why are you avoiding tracking? Is it because you're disorganized, you're lazy, you can't be bothered, it's too hard, you don't understand it, you need more education? But that no list, if you're listening to this, works a treat. I achieved every goal I wanted to this year. I did a deficit at the start of this year. I lost 8 kilos, had the busiest year of my life. I traveled overseas maybe 4 times, whatever. Lots of shit went on in my life. I achieved every single goal because I wrote a no list, all the shit I didn't want to bring into 2025 with me. And it worked. It worked a treat because it allowed me to just focus on exactly where I was missing the mark after being radically self-honest with myself.
Yeah, I fucking love that. I've actually not heard of like a no list.
You need to do
again, I will I'm gonna probably I want to sit down and do that because I'm someone who is big on like, you know, you set your yearly goals and everything like that. Not so much New Year's resolutions, but like, okay, what do you want to achieve over the course of this year? But further than that, I will then write out, okay, how am I going to do that? Like, it's not enough. And I think a lot of people definitely get stuck in this. See it yourself. I want to lose 10 kilos. You've already mentioned, right? Like, why do you want to lose 10 kilos? But even on a deeper level to that, foregoing the no list, it's like, well, how are you going to achieve that? It's not just enough to say, I'm going to lose 10 kilos and throw it out into the wind and fucking sit down and manifest it and visualize that it happens. It's like, well, use the no list, for example, or sit down and write, okay, well, what does that look like to lose 10 kilos? Well, I do 1,000 or 2,000 steps a day at the moment. I'm going to bump that up. I don't go to the gym, or I go once a week. I'm going to go 3 times a week. This, like, all of these things that you actually need to put in place, and coming back to that place of radical self-honesty, that radical like self-belief, like building that
Yeah,
self-belief.
it's
And one of my
huge.
favorite books that I ever read years and years ago was Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. And it
That's
was
on my
like,
list, but I haven't read it.
honestly, it fucking, like, you already seems like somebody that will resonate a hell of a lot with a lot of things in there.
Mm.
I read it at a time where I was the complete opposite of basically everything that was in that book. I was always looking to blame others. I was always looking for excuses outside of myself. Reading this book, I was like, everything is on me. If I don't achieve the shit I want to achieve, that's on me. If I don't become the person I want to become, that's on me. It's no one else's responsibility. The old "no one's coming to save you" line. And having the hard conversations with yourself, like, people are so scared to have hard conversation with others, they still won't have hard conversations with themselves
Mm.
ever. They
Mm.
don't want to see that they're the reason why. They want to blame their partner or their friends or whatever the case might be. Oh, I can't lose weight because my friends like going drinking on the weekends. It's like, okay, what is that? What are your friends going drinking on the weekend have to do with you wanting to lose weight? And that was something for me years ago. I'm now nearly 3 years completely sober.
Amazing.
For me, I had to sit back and reflect and go, okay, all of my friends like to go drinking, but then I started showing up with my meal prep and not drinking. I was ridiculed. They chatted shit. I started to become a little bit more like left out of things. And I
Mm.
know that a lot of people nowadays, that can be really hard. Like, a lot of people would struggle with that. But for me, I knew that, like, for me to become the person I wanted to become and do the things I wanted to do, this was part of the process for me. And that may not be the same for everyone. I don't demonize alcohol. I think, as with anything in life, moderation is fucking key.
Mhm.
If you are somebody who can enjoy a drink with friends on the weekend, fucking oath, have at it. But if that then starts to lead to you not doing anything else you're meant to do over the course of your week, that's when that radical self-honesty and that conversation with yourself comes into play. And sitting with it and being like, okay, well, if I want to achieve X, but Y is taking me off track, well, okay, what do we get rid of?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. Radical self honesty. And also, just like, I say this with love, but like, grow up. You're an adult. Like, you don't need to do what your friends do anymore. Like, when you're a kid and you're in school, it's like, it's cool. But when you start to become your own version of yourself, it's actually really cool to honor your own boundaries and your own goals and go after the life that you want to build. And look, 9 times out of 10, you being the first person to do that in your friendship group, like the black sheep, you'll start pulling people along with you. Like, I think about this same kind of thing. I was always the person that would blame everybody else. I had no radical, like, I speak all of this because I've been that person before, right? And even when I got into like training in the gym and nutrition and whatever, all of my friends were like, what do you mean you're going to the gym? Like, that's so lame, blah, 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 like, whatever. Now, they all call me and ask me for fitness advice, nutrition advice. They're starting to get on board with it. You know, they also used to say that social media was cringe, like, I'll never post on socials. Now they're like, oh my God, like, you're doing incredible things. I want to start posting my life on social media too. A lot of the time, you sometimes have to be that person that just goes first. And then those people, if they are, you know, good friends and they're going to stay with you, they will come along for the journey eventually.
Yeah.
Especially as people start to age. I feel like when you get to like your mid 20s, 30s, that kind of age group, people like, whoa, I probably should be taking my health more seriously.
Yeah, it's like 1,000%. And exactly that, like, understanding. And if this is anybody who is listening to this podcast, and I know I've spoken similar topics before and have had like quite a good amount of reach out from people to be like, dude, I relate to that hard, is like, you sometimes will need to be the outlier. But if you have big dreams, big goals, big aspirations, no matter what that might be, you don't have to fucking love health and fitness. You don't have to be in the fitness industry as a coach. You can do anything you fucking want. But anybody I've seen that has been successful in the pursuit of what they want to do has done so through foregoing things, has come from being a little bit of an outsider in their friendship group from times. And exactly that. I've had similar experiences where people who used to like mock me or chat shit or ridicule have eventually started to be like, oh, dude, this is really cool. Like, how do I do the same thing? And you're like, I remember this.
Yeah, you're
It's
like
like,
always making no. It's what's the saying? It's like it's only cringe until it's cool. You
yeah,
know, like if you want to achieve anything in your life, you have to go through a period of being cringe
mm-hmm.
and being uncomfortable. And then people will start catching on and be like, well, how did you do it? Do
Yeah,
you have a job for me? You know how many people have like spoken shit about me, posted content related to me, and then they're in my DM 6 months later being like, hey, I actually need your help because what I'm doing is not working. And it's like,
yeah,
you know, people will always demonize something that they don't quite understand until they fully understand it. And then they're like, okay, you know, maybe I'll come around to it.
yeah. It's that uncomfortability. People have an inability to sit with themselves. And then again, it becomes that like internal to external projection. I was listening to a podcast recently, Modern Wisdom, and he had his mate Zach Talander on. And Zach's big thing was like, being cringe was the best thing he's ever fucking done for his business. It like his business, his personal brand, his Instagram, all of it blew up the second he lent into being cringe. And he realized it's only cringe to the people who are criticizing, not the people who are going to come around. And they'll eventually come around at some point. But it's only cringe to the people who are like not doing the same thing. And there's the old saying that like you'll never be judged by somebody who's doing more than you. It's always the people doing less. Like there's never a millionaire that will turn around or a billionaire and go, that's, you know, that's a really shitty business idea. You shouldn't do that unless it's like actually a really shitty business idea.
Yeah.
But they're never going to turn around and criticize you for like showing up and putting in the work and trying fucking hard. You said before, right? Like you almost love being a tryhard.
Yeah.
I think that that's fucking amazing because you should try hard. You should want to try hard at things that you enjoy. And if you're trying hard at things you don't enjoy, but you're being told you should, okay, cool. That's maybe a little bit inauthentic. Find your thing. Try really fucking hard at it.
Yeah. And like take it seriously. A reflection I get a lot is like, oh, you're so serious. And I'm like, yeah, like I'm kind of not that serious because I am funny, but also I do get the seriousness when I talk about like fitness and business and going after the life that you want. It's like, of course I'm fucking serious about it because it has the ability to completely change your whole life. And I'm the person like speaking from experience. You know, like I said at the start of this podcast, I had $20 left in my bank account. I didn't even know how I was going to pay my bills. I was literally at like the bottom of the bottom. You know, I don't come from a family with a lot of money. I come from a good family, but I don't come from a family with a lot of money. I never got handouts in my life. So when I think about building everything that I've built, it's like, fuck yeah, I'm going to be serious about it. When I think about looking after my health, it's like, that's serious. Of course I'm going to be serious about it. But you need to have that kind of like grit and that I don't care to seem or be perceived as a try hard when you're trying to get something or you're trying to achieve something. Because you need to try hard. You also need to work hard.
Passion for sure. It's that, especially like as a coach, like you can tell when listening to you, as I said, online, like you are passionate and you show up because you believe in the fucking thing. Because you know it works. I'm the exact same. Like when I'm on the topic of like training and nutrition and like, if I get talking to someone in the gym, I just like go hard because I'm so fucking passionate about what I get to do. And I've seen it change my, like I started at 55 kilos at 6'2".
Yeah. Wow.
I was a fucking beanstalk. At 17, 18, I had no confidence. I had nothing. I was dealing with debilitating mental health, depression, everything. And I have seen it change my life from just doing hard shit in the gym, sticking to things you say you're going to do, in business, all of it. So for me, when I have somebody like younger or come to me and I'm like, yeah, I am passionate. I do love this shit. It's fucking fun. It's hard. And you don't want to do it all the time. There's days where you fucking would rather just pack in Instagram and call it a day.
Oh, yeah.
But I know that the journey and the reward is worth it. And I
And I
think that
think it's
that's, yeah,
also like, yeah, I agree 100%. Even just like not riding the wave of motivation. And like, if you're somebody right now who's like, maybe people listening to this podcast are looking up to you, Josh, and going like, he's so disciplined and his work ethic and he trains hard and he's jacked and all these things. It's like, you don't wake up every single day being like, can't wait to hit my steps today. Can't wait to bench press 100 kilos. So excited. It's like every single day you're not waking up super motivated, but you have built the discipline around that to go, okay, well, I don't really care how I'm feeling because I know on the other side of that, I'm going to feel 10 times better when I follow through on my word, when I get a good session in the gym, when I, eat nutritionally dense food so I actually feel better in my body as well. I don't have brain fog. I'm not fatigued. I'm not lethargic. I'm not bloated, whatever the thing is. So it's not relying on that wave of motivation. And if you're listening to this right now and you're looking at, people like us where we would seem very disciplined, right? It's like we probably, well, I know for me, speaking for myself, started the most undisciplined, full of excuses, lazy motherfucker known to man.
same. I fucking oath. I got like, I remember going to uni and all I would take with me all day was like a box of cheese and bacon shapes and a fucking cheese and bacon roll. And I'd be like, yeah, brother, we're on. Be like, why am I so skinny? Well, motherfucker, I wonder. I fucking wonder. But
Mine was an up and go. Like up and
yeah,
goes. I just used to have one up and go, and that would last me until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I'd come home from school and then I'd have dinner. Like, no wonder you're skinny because you're literally eating nothing.
yeah, it's fucking wild. And I think that's something that really, passion is sometimes demonized. And I think people come across like they look at passion as arrogance. And I've caught myself doing this with people in the past where I have maybe not necessarily disagreed with what someone's saying, but they're just so, and you're like, you almost get a little bit attacked and you're like, oh, they're just fucking arrogant or cocky or whatever the case might be. And then upon like chatting with them and everything like that, you're like, no, you're not arrogant or cocky. You're just so fucking passionate and believe in what you do so much that like you do not give a fuck what anyone else thinks, says, does, because you believe in this thing so much and you know it can help. And like hearing you talk, obviously you're very, very much like that. Like, you know what you do helps, from coaching, like transformational stuff, mindset, business, all of it. And I think that that's what people need more of. Passion for what they do. And if you don't have that, find whatever you love, pay someone who's really fucking good at the thing, go and learn from them and do it.
Agree, 100%.
Yeah, fuck. I love that. I honestly think that that's a perfect way to wrap it up, honestly.
That was a
Yeah.
good chat. I feel like we covered so many things.
This is why I love not having as much of like a structure and just kind of letting it go, because you tend to find that it just flows so much nicer and there's so much more value that can come from it for people.
Absolutely.
Having just genuine conversations rather than just like a Q&A. It's like,
I agree.
this is very well thought out.
Yeah, two perspectives. It's awesome.
Yeah. So to wrap us up, I do have 3 questions that I ask all guests.
Okay.
So first things first, if you could tell your younger self one thing, what would it be?
Sounds so lame. You can do it. I was that person, like I said multiple times throughout this episode. I lacked confidence. I played the blame game. I had no radical honesty or self-ownership. I never thought anything was possible for me. I was always the dumb kid at school. I failed maths in year 9, did foundation maths, failed. All these things just told me that I was never going to be good enough and that I could not do things. But like, you can do it. That is like the 3 things I would say to my younger self. Like, you can do it. You just need to work hard and be yourself. And yeah, you'll build a life of your wildest dreams.
Perfect. What is your favorite animal?
Dogs.
Cool.
Actually, I have a weird obsession with orcas, killer whales. Maybe that's a story for another day. If I tell you why, everyone on the internet will think I'm a fucking weirdo. But orcas, killer whales, but favorite animal, dogs. I've got 2 staffies.
Perfect. Well, the other question I originally had it as was favorite dog breed.
Staffies.
But then I had one person who's like, I'm not like a big fan of dogs. And it was like the most outlandish animal I've ever heard of. And I was like, I mean, sick. Let's open it up to animals in general, I guess. And last but not least, what does strength mean to you?
Strength means to me, oh, that's a good question. What does strength mean to me? I would say strength is following through on your word, having some kind of grit and level of resilience, and ultimately just like proving to yourself that you can do hard things. Does that answer your question?
That's perfect. And it's really interesting that like anybody I've had on as a guest who is extremely successful at what they've done has a very similar thought process around what strength means. And the reason I leave it such an open question, obviously the podcast name is Your Everyday Strength. And it does represent more than just physical. It's mental, emotional, spiritual, all of the things. But everybody's interpretation of what it is so different. Anybody who has achieved good things, great things, exceptional things, have very similar sentiments.
Yeah.
So I think that like anybody who listens to this, it's no coincidence that the people who are successful at what they do have very similar thought processes around how they do it. Take home note for today. But Kate, thank you very much. For those playing at home, how can they find you, connect, etc.?
Yeah, so you can go onto Instagram, the Kate Morris. I also have my own podcast, which is called Oi Let's Talk. And yeah, that's pretty much all.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you very
me.
much for being here. No problem. And as for everybody listening at home, if you've taken value from this today, which I absolutely will assure you that you will, please feel free, the old like, comment, subscribe, share with a friend, send to someone, implement some of the strategies. If you have any questions for Kate, reach out, follow her, listen to her content. As I said, even as a male, yes, Kate's content is more specified towards females and female, like that sort of stuff. But I have taken so much fucking value from it. And I think the more people that you follow who have very similar mindsets and are pushing and doing the thing can only benefit you. So go and do it.
Love it. Thanks for having me.
No